So self-esteem, we are talking about today from all different perspectives, science perspective, neuroscience perspective, psychological perspectives, because it's so interesting, it's so important, and I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah, I think everyone has like an inherent relationship with their own self-esteem and the concept of self-esteem. But doing this research, like I found it so interesting to see the role of like what friendship does, how like your parents impact you. If you are a parent, how you can think about your kids and what elements like actually lead to good self-esteem, because some of them are.
But it's the opposite. It's also the other way around, which is like also needing people to say good things in order to feel good. That's kind of hard.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're right. There's a darker element
is what?
To talk about, like, do I judge myself? Like, am I?
Yeah.
And maybe this is just for me. Like, it's easier to say, like, well, other people are hurting my feelings or I value their judgments. But there's a darker thing that's like, am I, like, judging myself so harshly that's why I have low self-esteem. And they realized it's literally a feedback loop. Yeah. So if you put effort into making friends and maintaining relationships, it will make you more have higher self-esteem, and people with high self-esteem are more likely to go and like solidify relationships like that.
Cool.
Now the negative side of that is it can also lead to a downward spiral, right? Like if you have low self-esteem, you're likely to like those relationships might fall apart. Some relationships in your life may not be maintained. That reflects back on your self-esteem. It lowers, which just can self-perpetuate the problem.
Wow, gotcha.
So like they go hand in hand. But to me, the takeaway is like sometimes you just got to do things. Like you may, if you're having low self-esteem or you feel lonely and these kind of things,
there's like work you can do.
Yeah, and it may not feel good right away. I think it reminds me of the gym, right? Like, but it's kind of like you may not feel like if you're in a downward spiral, it may feel like I don't want to hang out with people because I feel shitty about it. Like I have low self-esteem. I don't like being around people. I don't feel good. But knowing that working on those relationships will eventually reflect back on you, which will make you better at maintaining those relationships and growing them. Sometimes it's just useful to know you just got to do it and eventually it'll feel good.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of exercise. Like at first it is like
people who come out later. I'm going to talk about coming out. I always notice that people who come out late, I'm always like, it just is like, there's like a struggle there that I'm always like, I have to remind myself that those people are struggling more, probably with self-esteem, because it's like were in the closet longer.
And that for me was when I was like 17, 18. I was like, okay, like I don't think I'm gay.
Yeah, no, they're just like, oh, that's great for you, but I feel this way.
Right.
Like that kind of vibe. You're like, oh yeah, that is like a really
to be confident,
energy.
To have contradicting ideas to other people and be able to live in them without needing to like convince other people that you're right.
And a lot of it is about decision making. So people are able to act accordingly and make the best choice for themselves. They trust their own judgment. They don't necessarily feel guilty. They're just like, yeah. So I relate to those two. Like I don't like, I'm a Libra and everyone's always like, you're indecisive. And I'm like, I'm not. Well, the thing was like, I had like built my personality with like my close friends around this. Like I loved being uncomfortable because it was like a story. Like it was like, I was like a funny, I was like my sort of like strength, it felt like was